chapter 17. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Aurora are forsaken. They shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Edom shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts. And it shall come to pass in that day, that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. And it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the standing corn, and reapeth the ears with his arm. Yes, it shall be as when one gleaneth ears in the valley of Rephaim. Yet there shall be left therein gleanings, as the beating of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uttermost bough, 4 or 5 in the branches of the fruitful tree, saith the Lord, the God of Israel. In that day shall a man regard his Maker, and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel. And he shall not regard the altars, the work of his hands, neither shall he look to them, to that which his fingers have made, either the Asherim or the sun images. In that day shall his strong cities be as the forsaken places, which are forsaken from before the children of Israel, after the manner of woods and lofty forests, and it shall be a desolation. For you have forgotten the God of your salvation, and you have not been mindful of the rock of your stronghold. Therefore you didst plant plants of pleasantness, and did set it with the slips of a stranger. In the day of your planting you didst make it grow, and in the morning you didst make your seed to blossom, a heap of boughs in the day of grief and desperate pain. Oh, the uproar of many nations that roar like the roaring of the seas, and the rushing of nations that rush like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but he shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the shaft of the mountains before the wind, and like the whirling dust before the storm. And at eventide, behold, terror, and before the morning they are not. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and the lot of them that rob us. Okay, let's go back up to verse 1. And we remember yesterday now we were talking about this burden of Moab, and Moab was made an example of these ones that have taken everything that belonged to God and tried to put it over into their idol's hand, as if he had done it or it had done it, whatever the case may be. And we're going to find out these are made an example of even now God. But today we're going to be dealing with Damascus as we go through these burdens that Ishaiah has put upon these. And Damascus is that place where the sackcloth weaver works silently. And this is that which it has to carry. Damascus is used as an example here now of these things that take place over a great period of time. Even from one generation to another does it gather, even form itself. Verse 1, the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, it shall be a ruinous heap. And Damascus, once again, is that place where the sackcloth weaver works, this place that it's viewed as a city even now, this place where what they're doing is they're weaving the garments of mourning, because it is going to be destroyed, and these garments of mourning, we'll see, are for everybody. But Damascus is taken away from being a city. There's no watchman going to be left there. It's destroyed, and it shall be a ruinous heap. God's going to make a heap out of it, and we're going to find out under this heap will be what there is. 2, the cities of Aurora are forsaken. They shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. And these cities of Aurora was the river valley that flowed into the Jordan River. And Aurora means stripped and naked. And this is that place of the double curse. It has a double cursing. We can't just say it's stripped. We have to say it's stripped and made naked. It's made bare and shaken by the roots. But God's going to turn it into a place where the flocks shall lay down, because God's going to destroy it and make it a field even. 3. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Aram shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts. And this fortress also shall cease from Ephraim. This Ephraim was given this power of seat even over the children of Israel in Samaria. And that's what we're talking about, this place of dregs, and Ephraim, them double-fruited. And the kingdom is going to cease now. God's going to cause this to come to an end even. This kingdom they think they've made. God, this is the way God views it. It is as a kingdom, even this kingdom of Damascus, and this remnant of Aram, these enlightened ones who have gathered themselves there. 4. And it shall come to pass in that day that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. And it shall come pass in that day that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin. And we'll remember now how God asked, what happened to your glory? Because see, God had stripped them of their glory, stripped them of their crown. Why? When they took on a king, see, and they caused a contender now within the house of God, within the place of God, this is what happened. Their glory was taken away. And this is a similar case here in the end, that we will find the fatness of their flesh shall wax lean, because there's just not going to be many of them left. And we're going to find this was the prophecies from the beginning. God said, I will scatter you in all the earth, and there you will worship the work of the hands of men. And that's what's happened. That's what's going on today. See, and this is the waxing lean. And God's causing you to disappear. That which was a fruitful tree, as we're going to find out, is become barren. 5. And that shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the standing corn, and reapeth the ears with his arm. Yes, it shall be as when one gleaneth ears in the valley of Rephaim. And this Rephaim, and was the valley of the giants, even these. And we're going to remember the corn there was huge, and you couldn't get much. Even if you went in there to glean the ears, you would not be able to gather much if you've ever tried to pick corn. Now, it takes one hand to pick. It really takes two to pick it good. And one hand arm to carry it. The way the ears are shaped, they don't stack well in one's arm. And it is hard to pick and carry corn at the same time. And this is what we're talking about. You're just not going to get much. There's not much harvest there. There's not much to gather. 6. Yet there shall be left therein gleanings at the beating of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uttermost bough, 4 or 5 in the branches of the fruitful tree, saith the Lord, the God of Israel. And so it is, these gleanings, as if one has already harvested now all the olives of the tree. And these olives are the law. These represent the law, even that. Trees which God said you can't partake of. And these 2 or 3 now witness this complete fruit, these berries in the top of the uttermost branches, because this is all that's left, or this little remnant that's left today. 4 or 5 in the branches of the fruitful tree, and this is because it is the work of grace in these branches that of this tree that are left, that God has left them there to witness even this great work and this marvelous work of the end time. 7. In that day shall a man regard his Maker, and his eyes shall look at the Holy One of Israel. And in this day shall man regard his Maker, is what this is man shall understand now that God has done all this. It's God who has worked this, and this that you can see is the work of your hands, which is God has caused you to do, exactly like he said he would. See, God controls all. 8. And he shall not regard the altars, the work of his hands, neither shall he look to that which his fingers have made, either the Asherim or the sun images. And these sun images are these images of enlightenment, these things that men make to these little rituals and stuff they do to cause now to you to think they have enlightenment or understanding. And these asherim, this is a plural of these ashers, these altars, these evergreens even, these things they've set there now to last forever. These are the fingers that what man has made. These are the altars men have made. God didn't make these altars. God didn't set these things up. See? 9. In that day shall his strong cities be as the forsaken places, which are forsaken from before the children of Israel, after the manner of woods and lofty forest, and it shall be as a desolation. And that's what we're talking about, all these strong cities, these places where they have a guard, all these places they think they have built, even all their high places, they think they can withstand now the hand of God, but we got to find out. See, this is the punishment. This is a judgment of God set out upon them, and God shall turn it, because God's done prophesied he would. And even after the manner of woods and lofty forests, they think they've made themselves a high place and a pleasant place, even planted them a great forest, but it shall be a desolation. 10. For you have forgotten the God of your salvation, and you have not been mindful of the rock of your stronghold. Therefore you did plant plants of pleasantness, and did set it with slips of a stranger. And we're going to find out that's exactly what happened. See, because we're talking about Jeroboam. See, and that's exactly what went down. They have forgotten the God of their salvation. This is the God who made you, the God who gave you the law for your own good, the God who brought salvation to you through the law, and you have planted plants of pleasantness. These are slips of a stranger. These are the words of men that they've brought in and they've set up, these plants of pleasantness. Now anything that looks pleasant, all these pleasant places, these sweet things, these soft things. See, this is what we're talking about. This is not what God said. God set the law. You obey, or it has a punishment that comes with it. And this is what we see in the earth today. Degradation of society. See, God degrades through the punishment of his law. He blesses through the obedience of it. 11. In the day of your planting you did make it to grow, and the morning you did make your seed to blossom. A heap of boughs in the day of grief and desperate pain. See, because in the day of your planting you did make it grow, and in the morning you did make your seed to blossom. And we're going to find out this was an example that was being made. This is what they brought forth. Wild grapes. See, you planted it. You was given the chance to harvest, but you've messed it up. A heap of boughs in the day of grief and desperate pain. And we're going to find out what that means. A heap of boughs, a heap of branches. See, because God lets them get the fruit almost to fulfillment. Then he lops off the branches. Why? Well, that's what they did to God. And he cast the fruit into the birds of the ravenous birds of heaven. See, because why? That's what they did to God. See, the law's an eye for an eye, and you're going to suffer even that which you do. You can't escape it. It's a judgment of God. 12. Oh, the uproar of many peoples. That roar like the roaring of the seas, and the rushing of nations, that rush like the rushing of mighty waters. And we know all about these rushings. Even these rivers of rushing waters, the Arnon, which there the daughters of Moab are scattered like birds. We read about that last week. And this ensign at the end, even, that God has caused all the nations to rush to. And this is the sound of the rushing waters. See, God has done this. God has gathered them. 13. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but he shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the shaft of the mountains before the wind, and like the whirling dust before the storm. Because you have no understanding. See, rushing, you shall rush, and you do rush, God's going to rebuke you. Why? Because you have forsaken the Lord your God and the law of your God, and made him contemptible before your idol. And this is the judgment, see? This is the judgment, and you're like a whirling dust before the storm, having no understanding, taking up in the wind now even. 14, at eventide, behold, terror, and before the morning they are not. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and the lot of them that rob us. And this is to be the end thereof, see? Because an example is going to be made. An example is done, an example is set, a sign is given, and the horn is blew. And we're going to move on to chapter 18.